let's be conservative. Let's drop it lower outside the standard deviation. So if we land here, we're still sitting at 500,000. What's up, all you smart investors out there? You guys know that as a data scientist, I love digging into Bitcoin. And obviously, one of the things I love looking at are the meta markets and economies of scale and how Bitcoin is growing, how it's being adopted, and especially how it's actually being used. In my month of research this month, I've come across the Rational Root's latest updates to some of his visualizers around how Bitcoin is growing in different ways. And man, his updates are really juicy. So what I want to show you guys and talk to you guys about is our company's interpretation of Rational Root's work here. And let's just get into it. So there's going to be four things that we're going to talk about. He covered a lot here. But man, oh man, I'll tell you, I really loved this visualizer. So the Rational Root, what he put together is a Bitcoin spiral based on times. And what this has done is you'll see that it's breaking it out into 4-year cycles, right? So here's the beginning of Bitcoin. Here's the first year of Bitcoin, second year, third year, right? And it spirals out. And he's highlighted some really intriguing things in this first quadrant here, the first peak and the first all-time high after consolidation. Now, this very beginning of Bitcoin is when everything's in discovery. We're trying to figure out what is this technology, and we're finally getting to some maturity points. And where the pattern is, and this is really cool because it's covering the entire length and breadth and lifetime and lifespan of Bitcoin, is that as the data aggregates and grows, we get to a normalization, we get to some deviations that were with not huge high and lows, and this allows us with this back testing here to see how Bitcoin is growing into the next rungs, which are the all-time highs. So let's talk about this. Today we're sitting here in this pink right here. We're in 2022 September, and this is where we're looking at. Now, if we look back in history from the last 8 years, we'll find that after an all-time low, right here, for example, after an all-time low, Bitcoin will grow to the next level. Don't worry about this 100K. So if you look at here, it will grow and touch the next level all the way up here. And it will continue to grow in that range. Now, in the most recent cycle, after here, what did it do? It touched the next rung, which was, or just dabbled under the next rung, which is the 10K mark, right? And then it blew past it up into the 15s, 20s, all the way up to 60, 70, and then retraced back here into today. And so what we're always seeing, and this is the juicy part, is right here. After this all-time low, this is the way that we're interpreting this spiral. After this all-time low that we're going to be seeing somewhere around here, right? So we still believe that we're still in the bottom range. Some people have called the bottom in September and August of 2022. I still think that we're going to be seeing an all-time low probably around maybe even October or November of 2022. So we got a couple months to go. Regardless, due to the pattern, we know that we're going to see an all-time low sometime around here. And what we're going to see is Bitcoin will grow to the next level 100K. It will probably bounce off of it. And so this is our projection. Now, of course, not financial advice here, but we anticipate Bitcoin to tip $100,000 in 2023. Now, this is powerful based off of this data and back testing alone, because it tells us a very powerful liquidity moment. We know that from past patterns, it's going to bounce off that next outer rung and then pull back a little bit. And then it's going to blow right through it after we do the halving, right? So after halvings, we always break through, right? And so that's going to happen around 2024. Man, but what a great liquidity moment for those that have been holding around the 100K mark, or maybe the 90 to 100K mark. And then as it drops, As it drops, you can pick up some more coins for a cheaper price, and then after halving, we're going to break through, and we're going to be going above 100K. So this is I really like this Bitcoin spiral based on time and the overall growth. Really, really, really neat. Let's look at another one. This one, I was so surprised because this is stuff that I've heard in the news, but it never registered until I saw the Rational Roots Bitcoin spiral based on time. Now, what he's doing here is he's weighing the overall market cap of Bitcoin versus silver versus gold and real estate. And holy cow, guys, in the last couple years, what have we seen? We've seen Bitcoin tip and touch the market cap of silver. So we believe, and how I'm interpreting this, because if you look at this, it's really powerful, the overall spiral and where Bitcoin's going. I believe that Bitcoin's going to overtake silver in market cap in 2023. 2024, totally. It has to happen at this particular rate. And so this is a super bullish case. I don't know why, frankly, I don't know why more people aren't trumpeting this. This is a super bullish case for Bitcoin easily over the next couple of years, because we have so many people that love silver. Silver has kind of, flatlined, guys. And if you had bought gold in 2012 and you've held gold till now, you've actually lost money. So for the silver heads out there, for them to realize that Bitcoin is going to overtake their precious bullion of silver in terms of market cap, it's a very bullish consideration. So I see this as a strong case for the long-term viability, obviously, of Bitcoin. And it's only a matter of time until Bitcoin overtakes gold and real estate in market cap as well. Let's go to the next one. This one's really cool. So from the Rational Root, he put together this HODL model. And part of this HODL model is a visualizer showing the illiquid supply versus the supply issuance. A really fancy way of saying how many Bitcoin are being put into the market, right, per day, versus how many people are holding that asset. Well, what we've clearly seen over history is that the circulating supply, right, the circulating supply is going to get capped out, because we know that the total supply is 21 million. So it's exponentially decreasing asset. And we know through block analysis that people aren't moving this stuff. They're holding it. And so more people are holding the exponentially decreasing asset called Bitcoin. Long-term holding pressure and decreasing supply will add price pressure upwards. Absolutely. And so if we look at this graph and we just take just a swag right out to the next year, look at this. I mean, by 2024, this is going to be even tighter. And so we want to be well positioned. We want to be well positioned as investors. And this is again a very powerful visualizer showing that people are holding this asset, not circulating it around, not using it for commerce or e-commerce. Remember, Bitcoin is an asset. It's called a cryptocurrency. It acts more like an asset than anything else, mostly because the IRS deemed it an asset and property in 2014. And why would you want to move an asset with capital gains implications every time you transfer it? So holding the Bitcoin asset is the superior use case for Bitcoin here. This is cool. I like this. Nothing that we're talking about here, guys, is financial advice, but I'll tell you, part of the HODL model that Rational Root put together is an inverse S curve based on Bitcoin's all-time highs. His price model itself, which is down here, it's pretty complex, and standard deviations away from the mean. What does all that mean? Well, this is very similar to the price graph, which we're going to cover in a little bit, and the crossing the chasm. But what is especially appealing from his particular HODL model is that at current trajectory, within a standard deviation of 1, we will hit Look at this. Here's 100K. We will hit 100K in 2023, or we will bounce off of it as a standard deviation of 1. If we go a standard deviation of 2, we could see 150, maybe 200 in 2023. I mean, that's 2 standard deviations away from the mean. But look what we've done, though. After the first halving, we have gone 2 standard deviations away. After having 2, we went over the 2 standard deviations. After having 3, we are still past the first standard deviation, and we've just touched into the second standard deviation range. So this actually means that we have some growth left. So if this is sitting at 1 million up here, and let's say we go outside standard deviation 2. We haven't gone out of standard deviation 2 after the third halving, have we? So if we go outside the standard deviation of 2 after this next halving, that will put us in this boxed range, which means let's be conservative. Let's drop it lower outside the standard deviation. So if we land here, we're still sitting at 500,000 as a tip. Now it's going to retrace back into the 100K range, right? But holy smokes, that's exciting stuff. That it would be amazing in the next 12, 18 months to have an amazing bull run rally, tipping it way past 100K, maybe touching 200, 250, 500. Regardless, the current trajectory suggests, in all conservative and rational reason, current trajectory suggests that we will touch 100K in 2023. And number 2, Bitcoin will be greater than 100K in 2024. I think this is very much in line with the other videos that I've created around technical analysis, around the, I'll just go and watch those. But this is really strong. This is, I'm not trying to insert my bias here, and you guys have, if you've seen my other videos, I go deep and in depth in some of the meta and the macroeconomics of the growth of Bitcoin. But and we'll touch on that in just a second. But this is a really, really neat way of looking at Bitcoin's growth. Last but not least, you've seen this already. This is the overall growth of Bitcoin, very similar to the HODL model, but it's more of a logarithmic curve. Regardless, the way that we see Bitcoin is not necessarily as an asset. We see Bitcoin from a startup perspective. And this is powerful because if you look at Bitcoin as a startup, then what are you measuring? Daily active users. You're measuring new growth of users, new wallets, right? You're measuring transactions. How much are they actually using the product of Bitcoin? Right? And so if you start looking at Bitcoin from a product-centric or as a startup, then Bitcoin is the fastest growing startup on the planet. Now, there are really powerful visualizers for this, and we have one right here, by crossing the chasm. So I've been in Bitcoin for over 10 years. You guys already know this. And the way that I'm seeing it is that we are currently in the chasm of the Bitcoin startup. What does this mean? We are about to see, in my opinion, the greatest growth of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency in the next 3 years than we'll have seen in the last 10 years combined. And so to invest and to build in the chasm, literally today, is to build at maximum profitability opportunity. And all these graphs, everything that I've showed you guys, is the reason why I've been in cryptocurrency for the last decade, and I will most likely be in cryptocurrency for the foreseeable future. We have only growth and upside by digging in deep into the Bitcoin startup today. It's amazing stuff, guys. Have a great one.